Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. In the last episode, Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, the ninth Guru, the divine light of Guru Nanaki Dev Ji, had been revealed in Bakala. The true Guru now sat on the throne, the Gurta Gaddi, and the world rejoiced. But not all hearts bowed in reverence. The jealous Dheermal watched from the shadows. Blinded by ego, he unleashed Siha Masand and his armed bugs. They rushed the Guru's home, beating sevadars, stealing and looting, taking all the sacred gifts, even pots from the langar. They rampaged and tore through the home. They fired a bullet. But the Guru remained still. No anger, no fear, just divine composure. The Sangat trembled and the town of Bakala stood frozen. But on the other side of Bakala, Makhan Shah Lubhana, the man who revealed the Guru, he hears of this vicious attack. He is distraught, and on hearing this, inside him burns a great rage. And his 500 warriors, steel in hand, march, not for revenge, but for justice. This is the storm, and this is the divine reckoning. When word reached Dheermal that Makhan Shah Lubhana was on his way to storm his dera, his heart began to tremble. Panic rippled through his camp. Makhan Shah was not alone. He came with a force of over 500 armed soldiers, steel in their hands and fire in their eyes. With them were more Sikh who were stirred by the injustice against their Guru, who had joined them, their hearts burning with rage. Swords and sheathed and shields raised. Justice was coming, and it was coming fast. Inside the dera, Dheermal's voice cracked, with fear as he barked orders. We are few, we have no fortress here, no allies, no way out. What shall we do? If we fight, we will fall. Our honour, our gold, our pride, everything will be shattered. So do not fight, guys. Sit still, say nothing. And then he turned to his masands. Desperation now painted across his face. Tell me, what do we do? We can't run, we can't fight. This is not our Kartarpur. My men are trembling. If we engage, they'll scatter us like dust. What do we do? Tell me. And turning to his masands again, he barked. I told you I saw bad omens. You didn't listen, and now look what has happened. Even Siha Masand, once blazing with false bravado, now looked pale. The panic spiraled. Siha, grasping for a strategy, tried to reason. Babaji saying to Dheermal, use your powers, enchant him. Break his will, we have no other option now. The time for bribes, tricks or fear is over. You know what, this is the moment for humility. Surrender is all we have left. Apologize, say sorry. That's all the wisdom left for us right now. But before any answer could come, it was too late. The sounds of boots and steel echoed at their doorstep. Makhan Shah's warriors had arrived. His men stormed the gate. Each one moved like a panther. They overpowered Dheermal's guards with ease. There was no resistance, no glory, and no honour left for them. One by one, the masands threw down their rifles. One by one, they folded their hands, trembling. Swords that once gleamed with arrogance now fell to the ground. Siha surrendered. Every single one of them surrendered. Their pride shattered, their egos deflated, and their plot undone. And at the door stood Makhan Shah, his eyes red. This was not revenge. This was justice. Makhan Shah's men stormed into Dheermal's dera like a rising tidal wave, swords at their sides and fire in their stride, and they didn't even need to raise a hand. The sight of them alone sent shivers down the spines of Dheermal's camp. Faces turned pale, voices frozen in their throats, weapons clattering on the ground, forgotten. Some of Dheermal's men tried to flee, cowards, vanishing into the dust like shadows at dawn. Others stood rooted, trembling like thieves caught in the act, and a few, utterly shameless, just sat there blankly, unable to meet a single eye. Makhan Shah stepped forward into the courtyard. His gaze locked onto Dheermal's face. The same Dheermal who had once walked with the pride of a lion now looked like a cornered jackal. All his false grandeur stripped away by the truth. The masands tried to hide the stolen treasures, but truth has a way of exposing darkness. Their secret stash was discovered, the stolen gold, the gifted coins, the fine cloth. Every last item that had been looted from the house of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji was collected, piece by piece. Nothing would remain in the hands of the corrupt. Bhai Makhan Shah pointed with fierce command, "Make them carry it. Let the very hands that stole it now return what they took." And one by one, the men of Dheermal, humiliated, were forced to lift the treasure they had robbed and carry it back to the very feet of the Guru from which they tried to steal and destroy. Everything that was taken from Dheermal's dera, everything was taken from the dera. Every coin, every Darbar Sahib, every cloth, every sunk, everything. And then, the most sacred of all, the Ard Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Saroop, which Dheermal had hoarded in pride, was lifted with reverence. The Sikh bowed, some wept, and the Guru's Shabad was carried upon their heads as they walked back with honour and devotion, step by step, towards the true light, towards the house of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji. As for Siha and the other masands, they were bound and tied in ropes, dragged through the streets. Their pride had turned to ash, their mouths no longer spewed arrogance, now they cried out in pain, wailing, begging, "Hi, hi." And people watched, and they whispered to one another, and they spoke out loud. They got what deserved. You got what you deserved, you got what was coming to you. The divine law had been upheld. Justice, not vengeance, had walked through Bakala that day in the form of a trader from the seas, a lion of the Guru, Bhai Makhan Shah Lubhana. Remember that name. Dheermal stood shaking. The pride that once wrapped around him like a royal robe now frayed into desperation, and with trembling lips he pleaded, "Makhan Shah, you're a Sikh of the Guru, aren't you? We are the Guru's children. Why are you doing this to your own? Don't you fear the Guru's justice? You are dishonouring us. You've taken everything. At least leave my masands. Let them go. You even took the Guru Granth Sahib Ji on your Sikh's head. We are brothers. These are family matters. They fought before. Our family has fought before. Please just leave us alone. Sikh have never interfered in the internal affairs of the Guru's family." But Makhan Shah, his eyes like sharpened steel, his voice thunderous, stepped forward and replied with the clarity of truth, "Dheermal, you speak of family now. Now, after committing acts that no true descendant of the Guru would dare. Your sins are not hidden. The entire village had seen your evil with their own eyes. You fired bullets on the house of Guru Nanak. You tried to kill the true Guru, the Satguru. You looted the very home of the Guru where Guruji was resting, and you dare say this is a family quarrel now. Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji is above all conflict. He sees joy and sorrow as one. He didn't ask to be revealed. I begged him, pleaded with him, and even then he refused, not out of weakness, but out of spiritual strength. He sees the world as an illusion. He knows it to be true. He lives in Brahmgyan, in silence, in the destruction of ignorance. In his gaze, the darkness in men's heart is turned to light. He is your father's younger brother, but to the world, he is the master of spiritual wisdom. He has won over his senses. He has conquered the self. He is the jewel of the Sodhi family. He is the crown of the Panth. And what did you do? You had him shot at. You tried to silence him with death. You tried to kill him. You ordered this over greed, over gold coins, over followers and fame. And now you cry about this as a family quarrel. Makhan Shah's voice quivered, not with fear, but the fire of love for his Guru. If you were not born in the house of the Guru, if your blood was not of sacred lineage, I would have ended this right here. But I have spared you, Dheermal, not because of your pleas and your crying, but because of the grace of the one that you tried to kill. And with that, Makhan Shah ordered, every stolen item, every offering, every sacred treasure, every gift of love given by the Sikh was to be marched out of Dheermal's dera, not as a thief's plunder, but as the rightful return to the house of truth. Makhan Shah returned and went back to the house of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, and with him procession of warriors and sevadars and the masands carrying everything that they had looted, and it was now restored. With reverence and humility, they brought everything back. The money, the gifts, the offerings from the Sangat, the robes and ornaments, even those of Dheermal himself, all of it. And it was placed respectfully before the mother of the house, Mata Nanaki Ji. The treasure that was once stolen now lay at her feet, at her charan, surrendered without a trace of attachment. Then came the most revered, most beautiful, amazing treasure of all, the Saroop of Gurbani, the sacred art Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. The Sikh carried it upon their seas, upon their heads, and they took it to where it would be safe, where it would be honoured. And then in silence, Makhan Shah Ji approached the Guru. His hands folded and he bowed deeply. Then he raised his eyes and he saw the divine Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, seated in the exact same spot they had always been, motionless, serene, untouched by chaos or praise. His posture had not changed. His expression hadn't shifted. He hasn't moved, and he wasn't moved by the return of wealth, and he didn't flinch at its loss. The Guru, who faced bullets with silence, also welcomed praise with that same silence and stillness. There he sat, the true Guru, the one who asks for nothing, the one who gives everything, the one whose throne is not built on gold but on truth. Unbothered, unshakable, he was still immersed in Naam Simran, divine remembrance. Makhan Shah's heart overflowed. The joy he felt was not from victory, but from seeing his Guru, his beloved master, who was beyond victory and loss altogether. And Guruji sat there like a mountain of peace, broad-chested, long-armed, tall in form and radiant in spirit, draped in simple white robes. In a simple Jolan Gamarkasa, he glowed with a grace that can't be described and only felt, deep, detached, and infinitely compassionate. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji's eyes held no judgment, no anger, no fear, only divine love. And those divine eyes of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji looked towards Bhai Makhan Shah Ji, and Guruji asked gently, without a trace of anger, "Makhan Shah, my Sikh, what is all of this? Why have you come with such noise? Why do you arrive at this hour, weapons tied and soldiers behind you?" Makhan Shah leaned forward and spoke, his voice proud, unwavering and full of reverence. "Guruji, the ones who dared to insult you, the wicked, the slanderers, the vile masands of Dheermal, I tied them in ropes and I've dragged them here. Siha Masand, the one who raised a gun and shot at you, I dragged him here like the criminal he is. All the gifts they looted from your home, I've reclaimed them, every last one, and I've punished those who laid their hands on your Sevadar, who tried to attack you and your Sikh, and those who slandered you. I only spared Dheermal." And Makhan Shah added then, "and only because he carries the bloodline of your house. Guruji, I will not and I cannot tolerate even a whisper against you. You are everything for me. Had I been there when they attacked, I swear to God, they would not have walked away." Makhan Shah's voice rose as he spoke. "The moment I heard of the crime, I took up arms, my men followed. We descended upon their dera, and I did not rest until every last stolen coin, every last item, every trace of insult was stripped from them and brought back here to your divine house in your jaran." He stepped forward, eyes red with devotion. "Guruji, I've brought back your items, and theirs too. Keep what you wish. If Dheermal has any wisdom left, let him see this as a warning that if he dares try anything again, we are ready, and we will do the same again." There was a moment of silence. Makhan Shah stood still, the fires of justice still burning in his chest. His sword had not even cooled from battle, but across from him, calm as a still lake under a full moon, sat Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, the true Guru, the embodiment of wisdom, the ocean of patience. With a voice as soft as flowing water and as powerful as thunder, Guruji spoke. "Makhan Shah, what have you done? You see their hands tied. You see this as a victory. But do you see what blinded them? They moved under the shadow of desire, under the fire of anger. These are not just men, these are prisoners of their own minds. I do not wish to answer anger with more anger. This is not the way. The Guru's voice rang with clarity. Desire, my beloved Sikh. See this. See desire as the root of all sorrow. It is the seed of every fall. Lust, greed, ego. These are the children of desire. They eat away at wisdom. They blind the soul. And when wisdom dies, so does virtue. The man with desire cannot see right from wrong. He becomes lost in the storm of his own cravings, and so he falls again and again into an endless cycle of birth and death. You are a noble Sikh. You are brave, devoted, true, but now inherit the jewels of patience, of compassion, and of restraint. These are the warriors, weapons of a true warrior, of a true saint. Guruji gestured softly towards the treasures stacked before them. Return these, all of them, to Dheermal. Even the gifts brought here by the Sangat, return them as well. Go to his home, not with anger but with peace. These items are nothing to me. But if you give them with love, his heart may soften. The poison of hatred may settle, and the storm inside him may calm. Then pausing, Guru Sahib's voice dropped lower, like a secret between souls. Once you have done this, come back to me, and I will give you something far greater than gold. I will give you Brahmgyan. I will show you how to break free from the cycle of birth and death. You will walk this world with a clear mind and intellect, knowing the truth from illusion. This will be your true reward. Not loot, not vengeance, but liberation. Makhan Shah's eyes flickered. The warrior in him began to listen to the saint. Makhan Shah stood tall, his hands folded, his heart it thundered. But Guruji, he said, his voice was steady but emotional. What they did, it was just wrong. It was evil. They tried to kill you. They slandered you. These aren't even men. They're corrupt souls, cold. They tried to kill you, Guru Sahib. And now you say forgive them? He shook his head. Forgiveness, Guruji, is divine. And even divinity has its limits. When you spare the wicked with sweet words, you don't melt their hearts. You make them bolder. These guys, they will not change their ways. They will think they outsmarted the Guru. They'll say we are soft and that we are scared and afraid, and next time they'll come back even worse. Makhan Shah's hands moved now as he spoke, not in rage but in a passionate, emotional way. Guruji, if you continue to forgive evil, they will keep returning to mock you. And not just you, every saint, every humble soul, and every innocent Sikh. Guruji, let me be your hand of justice. Give me the command. With that he stood, burning with love, burning with duty, asking not for revenge, but for righteousness. Hearing the fire in Makhan Shah's voice, Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, the compassionate, radiant, unshaken, gazed at him, eyes full of divine love. A still, quiet moment that fell over them. The storm of rage in Makhan Shah's heart met the ocean of peace in the Guru's. Then softly, like the quiet before the storm, Guruji spoke, Makhan Shah, my beloved Sikh, come close and listen to me. These words were not loud, but they carried the weight of the world. And these words are not just a message to Makhan Shah, but a message to all of us, every one of us listening to the podcast right now. Guruji spoke. Their voice was like the wind over the waters, calm, steady and deep. There is a pain that hides deep within the hearts of men, a fire, not lit by the world, but by their own desires. Those who chase pleasure, those who run after joy for its own sake, they find only deeper sorrow. A person who has not conquered their senses, when they see beauty, it gives rise to lust. When they see wealth, greed stirs. These desires, they wear different faces. Lust for women, greed for gold. It's the same disease. Makhan Shah listened. Once desire takes hold, Guruji continued, then anger follows. When the path to what we want is blocked, the fire of anger ignites, and in that fire, wisdom turns to ash. In anger, man forgets his dharam. They can't differentiate between good or bad. They forget right from wrong. A person can commit many sins in anger. If wisdom is destroyed, then dharam is destroyed as well. The person who does not see what is in front of them will realize there is sins, and there is no sin that someone would not do in anger. Even if it is their mother, father or guru, they don't watch how they speak to them while they are under the spell of anger and lust. They will insult them, insult their own family, their gurus, their parents. Because of anger and lust, the person will do and say things that are bad. One can kill in anger, and there is nothing worse than that. There is no control in anger. Even when things don't go their way, the person becomes impatient. They can't sleep or eat. Their heart burns day and night. They make many plans and waste their whole life in pain, and slowly jealousy, ego, arrogance, they creep in and they take over a person's life. They take root, and what began as desire becomes a tree bearing the fruit of ruin. Listen, Makhan Shah, understand this. Desire is the root of a person's downfall. Guruji's voice softened, yet grew even more piercing. Makhan Shah remembered this well. Desire is the root. Lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, these are the branches. Pull the root, Guruji said, lifting his hand gently. Pull the root and the tree will fall, and in its place something else will grow. And Guruji smiled. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is the highest tapasya, is greater than all pilgrims and pilgrimages. It's deeper than the oceans, brighter than 1,000 suns. It's the bridge between the human and the divine. He looked deeper into his Sikh's eyes. To forgive is to evolve. There is no greater strength, no richer value, no higher path than this. Never let go of goodness, Makhan Shah. No matter what comes, keep it burning in your heart like a lamp lit by the hand of Paramatma, Vaheguru themselves. This was the divine message. As Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji continued to softly guide Makhan Shah towards forgiveness, a new presence entered the room, like a storm wrapped in dignity. It was Mata Nanaki Ji, the mother of the Guru, the widow of Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, the lioness who had borne saints and watched warriors rise. She entered swiftly, her eyes burning with a quiet rage. Her voice when she spoke thundered like a mother protecting her cub. Dheermal is a criminal, she declared. Her voice was steady but fierce. He sent assassins to kill my son. His men fired bullets at a saint, a sadhu, the true Guru. And even now my son, the one who they tried to murder, wants to forgive him? She turned to face Guruji, her face unwavering. He looted our home. He dragged your name through the dirt. He mocked the throne of Guru Nanak, and still you speak of peace and his welfare. The room fell into silence. Makhan Shah and others instinctively rose, their hands folded in reverence. They bowed to the mother of the Guru, touching her feet. Mataji's wisdom, her devotion, her pain, they were known to all. The mother who had lit the lamps of love in Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji's house was now a roaring fire, burning in defence of her son. She sat down, but her fury still lingered in the air. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji remained silent. He looked at his mother, not with resistance, but with understanding and love. And in that silence, not a soul in the room could find the words to speak. Mata Nanaki sat in silence for a moment, then spoke. Makhan Shah, she said softly, this is the way my son has always been. She looked at Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji with the kind of gaze only a mother can hold, filled with love, sorrow and understanding that reached beyond words. He was born different, not drawn to the noise of the world. Even as a child, his gaze turned inwards. While others played, he sat in stillness. While others gathered praise, he gathered silence. His mind never danced with worldly desires. Her voice grew steady. And she spoke. There were 5 brothers, sons of the Guru, all sons of Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, and all of them warriors. Baba Gurditta Ji, the eldest, then Baba Surajmal Ji, Baba Ani Rai Ji, Baba Atal Rai Ji, and then Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, the youngest. All of them tall like lions, broad-chested, radiant with strength. Each carried the blood of warriors, sons of the Guru, sons of the king. They followed the Kshatriya Dharam, the code of warriors, with pride and purpose. And Baba Gurditta Ji, the oldest, oh, what a leader he was. Steady and wise, and Surajmal, he took care of all the management. Standing shoulder to shoulder with his elder brother, they rode the finest horses, dressed in robes fit for princes, weapons shining at their sides. They were beloved by the Sangat. Their words were soft, their presence magnetic. Wherever Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji went, his sons followed like the moon orbiting the sun. They wore jewels, they hunted like warriors, they carried themselves like the heirs of a mighty empire. People praised them openly, and their father praised them too. But she paused, turning again towards her son, who sat still, unmoved, ageless, and at peace. My youngest son, Tegh Bahadur, he never wanted any of that. He never chased glory. He never spoke to anyone unless spoken to. Even in a room full of gold, he found a joy in his own silence. He never asked for anything. He never asked for gifts. He never saw any praise. He lived in solitude, quiet, but very deep, and seemed distant. There was no bitterness in her voice, only truth, only reverence, her eyes wet with tears. This is who he is. This is who he has always been. Mata Nanaki's voice trembled, with memory rich with the weight of the years she had seen and carried in silence. Baba Gurditta Ji, she said, her tone both reverent and mournful. He was powerful. No one could deny that. Baba Gurditta Ji, Baba Surajmal, they carried themselves well. But Tegh Bahadur Sahib, as I told you, is always different. Powerful, make no mistake, but quiet. He always kept himself to himself, never sought praise, never asked for recognition. He walked the earth like a shadow of the divine, unseen, untouched, undisturbed. And I used to worry. Oh, how I used to worry day and night. His solitude lived in my thoughts, but I never spoke of it to anyone. And then she looked into the distance, eyes misting with sorrow. Sometimes after many days, he would come to his father, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, and quietly bow. And then, just as quietly, he would slip away again, vanishing back into the silence of his bora, into his bhakti, his deep meditation. Many Sikhs didn't even realize he existed. But his father, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, they knew. They saw what others could not. They saw the light hidden behind that silence. Whenever my son Tegh Bahadur came, his father, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, would gently lift his own knee, making space to seat Tegh Bahadur Sahib beside him. He would look into his eyes with a kind of love that doesn't need any words. It was a sacred love, a deep love, a love that said, "You are the one." I used to sit and watch them. My heart would bloom just seeing the way Guru Sahib looked at my son, like a treasure too rare to be touched. And my son Tegh Bahadur would sit for a little while, not saying much, then he would bow and quietly leave. He wouldn't linger, he wouldn't speak, but his father's eyes, they followed him every time, from the moment he stood up to the moment he disappeared behind the door. That gaze full of reverence, of knowing, it never changed, and it only grew deeper. And I witnessed this again and again, and with passing time, I was filled with wonder and a sliver of doubt. I didn't yet understand what destiny was holding in my son's quiet. And then there was a moment etched into my heart forever when I stood before my husband, the great Guru, the great warrior Guru. I bowed low at his feet, my hands folded, trembling, not with fear, but with the weight of a mother's question that had burned in her heart for years. And then I asked, Our youngest son, Tegh Bahadur, he doesn't know the ways of the world. He's not like the others. He isn't clever with words, nor wise in the ways of men. He keeps himself to himself. He doesn't mingle, doesn't speak unless spoken to, doesn't chase after anything. He barely even knows people's names. Yet every time he comes to see you, my heart finds peace. But tell me, O Master, out of all your sons, Gurditta, Surajmal, Anirai, Atalarai, why do you look at Tegh Bahadur the way that you do? Why do you? The lion of the battlefield, the slayer of tyrants, the king of kings, why do you praise this quiet child out of all of them? And then Sache Pacha, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji spoke when they turned to me, and in that gaze that they looked at me, calm and powerful, they said, "O pure-hearted one, listen closely. You ask why I honour Tegh Bahadur, because he is not of this world. He is a soul beyond time, a great jewel amongst men. He walks the earth with no attachment. Pleasure does not sway him, lust does not shake him, love and hate pass through him like the wind through leaves. He is in a sahaj avastha, forever in balance, and mark my words, one day he will do great things, and one day a son will be born. His son. A son who will carry the legacy of our house. Not just carry it, but who will illuminate it like the full moon in the dark sky. The son of Tegh Bahadur will be unmatched in history, in every art, in every virtue. He will be a poet whose words are fire, a musician whose melody can awaken the soul, a saint whose stillness humbles kings, and a warrior whose sword will strike fear into the greatest of warriors and tyrants. A philosopher deeper than the oceans, a general whose strategies will outwit empires. He will be known as the protector of Dharam, just like his father, just like my son Tegh Bahadur. And they will not bow to any emperors. They will raise the downtrodden and shatter false thrones. When his name is spoken, even they will fold their hands and bow in reverence, and all will sing their praises. Because they both will be the light of Guru Nanak Dev Ji that shines so brightly that even the moon will look dim before it. And when my husband Guru Hargobind Sahib said those words, I was frozen in times. Those words were not mere hopes, they were truth, a truth waiting to blossom. That day, I did not just hear a father's love, I heard a divine prophecy, and now every breath I take, I wait for that promise to be fulfilled. For Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib to do so much great things, and for his son to arrive, for my grandson, the light of the Khalsa to be born. That day is coming, and when it does, the world will never be the same ever again. Now listen, Makhan Shah, let me tell you one more truth from the depths of my life. It was a quiet moment near the end, when the sun of Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji's time on earth was beginning to set. I stood before him yet again, heart trembling, soul uncertain. The man before me was no ordinary husband. He was the warrior saint, the warrior guru, arms thick like elephant trunks, the protector of the righteous, the destroyer of tyrants. And with a mother's fear, said to him, what will become of me when you leave this world? My son, our youngest, he doesn't understand the ways of the world. He knows no trade, no politics, no courtly craft. He is simple, he is quiet. You were our support, Guru Sahib, our shield. Who will protect us now? You have already blessed your grandson, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, the Gurta Gaddi. What about us? I am the mother of a child untouched by the world. Where shall I go? What shall we do? And Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji spoke, and they looked into my eyes, and they said to me, do not worry. The son that people call simple, he holds a treasure far greater than any cleverness. Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji is quiet, yes, but he is deep. He is all-knowing. He is filled with virtues that the world cannot yet understand. His ways will never be understood. The Gurta Gaddi shall come to him. This is a fact. The world will bow before him. And one day, the slanderers will hang their heads in shame. And those who place their faith in Tegh Bahadur, those who listen to his words, their wishes will be fulfilled beyond imagination. And then my husband turned to his son with love and with divine recognition, knowing that the world will one day behold his greatness. And that moment I've carried those words in my heart like sacred pearls, waiting, watching, knowing that one day they would come, and now it's near. And look what's happening, Makhan Shah. The fire of jealousy has swept through the hearts of our relatives. Dheermal, he can't bear to see my son's light. He wanted to be the Guru himself. He has fired bullets at my son, not once but twice. He wanted him dead, and yet look at my son. He still wishes good for them. He still wants to return everything, even what was stolen. Who does that? Who forgives like that? Dheermal's house is filled with land, with gold, with luxury. He has everything. And us, you've seen with your own eyes, we survive modestly. We live with contentment. My son never asked for more. He never asked for anything. But still, he wants to give everything back and even more. Without anger, without ego. Yet in Dheermal's house, the fire of greed never stopped burning. No peace can live there. And my son has said what he said, and I cannot stop him. I am his mother, yes, but he walks a path higher than mine. I bow to him. What can I do? My son wants peace, even with those who tried to destroy him. What kind of mother would not be proud of that? She paused. Her voice carried fire, pain, and fierce love, but in her fell silent. Mataji wiped her tears from her eyes, and her gaze turned inward. The ache still lingered, but so did the joy. And she whispered to herself, my son is safe. That alone is everything. And with that, the house of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji sat in quiet reflection. The moon rose high, and the night deepened. It was dark now. It was about 10 p.m. And even in that stillness, the legacy of the Guru was being written in the silence of saints and the faith of mothers. And after Mata Nanaki's powerful words settled in the air, Makhan Shah stood in silence. He looked at Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, and the Guru, ever calm, ever anchored in the depth of peace, spoke. Makhan Shah, don't wait, go now. Take everything back to Dheermal. Return to him all that was lost by him, and even that which was ours. This is the way of true wealth. It never stays in one place. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, dances. She arrives singing and leaves in silence, often burning the hearts of those attached to her. The greedy, they chase her like a mirage. They spend their lives collecting, clinging, and still they die with empty hands and a heart full of regret. Makhan Shah, as Akal Purkh Vaheguru keeps you, so must you remain. Be content in his will, in his bana. These words weren't just being spoken, they were medicine. Makhan Shah bowed his head. The warrior spirit still there, but now he stood in humility. He saw clearly the difference between justice and revenge, between action and ego, and the Guru's light didn't destroy the darkness with swords, it burned it away with compassion. And now, with new understanding in his heart, Makhan Shah prepared to return the wealth, and doing so, stepped closer to a far greater treasure. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji sat in stillness, as if the chaos of the world couldn't touch them. And it could not. His words moved like arrows tipped with wisdom, straight into the hearts of those who listened. Maya, Guruji said, this wealth is Maya, it's an illusion. It cannot be tricked, but it tricks everyone. You can't cut it with a blade, you can't conquer it with force, not even a razor-sharp katar will leave a scratch. It weaves itself into the heart quietly, like ivy creeping up a stone. It binds people with desires. Everyone chases after it, to earn it, to protect it, and when it slips away, oh how it burns. Makhan Shah, Guru Sahib looking at him, why trouble your mind with this Maya, with this illusion? Worry has no weight in the court of Akal Purkh. You will only receive what is written in your Garam, no more, no less. So take this Maya, return it to Dheermal. It doesn't mean anything here. Let his burning be soothed. Let his restless hunger be calmed. The greedy find happiness in gold. Without it, their hearts burn. Do not overthink this. Do not wrestle with pride. Do as I say. Take it back. And at that moment, Bhai Makhan Shah stood frozen, not in fear but in awe. His heart, once charging like an elephant on a battlefield, now felt as it had been caught and tied in golden chains. Chains formed by the Guru's words, not to trap him, but to hold him still, to calm the storm inside. He bowed his head. He would return the wealth, and he would surrender to the Guru's bhajan, and doing this he'd learned something. He said to Guruji, "As you command, Guruji, I will do whatever you say. Your word is the way. This is my true wish. I only wish to follow your word." And one by one, the looted items, the gold, the coins, the fabrics, the offerings meant for the true Guru Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, were carefully packed and loaded. The same items which sparked jealousy and treachery were now being sent back with dignity. And Makhan Shah spoke to his men, "Take these things to Dheermal and give him the message word for word. Tell Dheermal, you took these things from the house of the true Guru, but know this, the true Guru is above all. Even after all your betrayal, your attack, your greed, he is sending them back. Why? Because he is the Guru of mercy. The Satguru thinks not of vengeance, but of your upliftment. Even sinners and bappis are in his care. But mark this, don't dare stir another conflict. Don't fall into the words of those corrupt masands again, because the true Guru has forgiven you now. But forgiveness does not mean forgetfulness. If the swords had swung earlier, you would not be here. That's why you're still breathing and receiving wealth, because the boundless compassion of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, your uncle." And with that, the final items were secured, and the caravan set off under the moonlight, not as victors returning the spoils, but as humble messengers of the Guru's mercy. And as everything was packed and sent, the night air was cool. His eyes rested upon the sacred form of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, seated in grace and silence, the living Shabad, the voice of the Gurus. Makhan Shah was told to return everything. But as Makhan Shah looked upon Guru Granth Sahib Ji, he thought to himself, "This is no ordinary scripture, this is the crown jewel of the Panth. I can't and I will not return Guru Granth Sahib Ji to Dheermal. He's not worthy. Let him keep the clothes, the gold, the money, the ego, the titles, but this treasure, this must remain here with the true Guru, where the Sangat can come and bow, and where the light of Gurbani will keep shining undistorted and untouched." With that decision made, Bhai Makhan Shah turned to Mata Nanaki Ji, and they spoke in the other room. And he said to her with reverence and clarity, "Mataji, listen. Guru Granth Sahib Ji is more precious than anything we returned. This is the soul of the Panth. It must remain here in the home of Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji. This is where it belongs, not at the hands of a man driven by greed and jealousy. It's better that Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj stay in this home, where the Sikh can do their darshan. Let the Sangat find peace here. Until Guru Sahib asks, until Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib says anything, we will not say anything about this." Mataji looked into Makhan Shah's eyes and nodded. She understood. She saw the love that was for Guruji in Makhan Shah's heart, and she knew he was right. So without announcement, without ceremony, it was decided Guru Granth Sahib Ji would remain in the home of the Guru of the Ninth Master, a secret between the Sikh and the mother of the Guru, a silent rebellion against the falsehood of Dheermal and a victory for truth. And in that stillness where no words were needed, the eternal light of Gurbani continued to shine untouched, unshaken, like the moon that watches over the world. Bhai Makhan Shah's men arrived at Dheermal's camp, not with swords drawn, but with arms full, carrying every item that had been taken from the house of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji and then taken back. One by one, the possessions were laid down before Dheermal and his people. Each item placed, they delivered the message that carried more weight than gold. This is the grace of the true Guru, the one you slandered, the one you attacked, the one you tried to kill. He is infinitely compassionate and he forgives you. He returns these to you. Not just your own things, but even the things the Sangha gave him, the things that you stole. Because he wants peace, not conflict. Because his love extends even to those who strike him. This is the greatness of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji. These words fell like thunder on Dheermal's chest. He sat in silence. His eyes didn't raise up. The message pierced through his armor of his ego and exposed his shallow pride within. He couldn't bring himself to speak. He couldn't bring himself to offer thanks. He couldn't let go of the greed that still clung to his heart. He took it all. He accepted every coin, every cloth, every offering, even as his heart burned with the fire of jealousy. His masands, whose days earlier had stormed the Guru's home with violence and venom, now stood still as stone. No swagger, no pride, just quiet, shamed movements as they took back the very loot they had stolen with force, and they didn't dare look up. They didn't dare meet the gaze of the Sikh. The bravery of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, the calm silence, it shattered them. Dheermal held money in his lap, but there was no joy in his eyes. He sat surrounded by riches, but his heart was poorer than ever. The Guru's mercy became his mirror, and in it Dheermal had seen what he had become. And that night, as the lamps burned, Dheermal sat alone, his eyes cast downwards and his heart heavy with thought. The clinking of coins no longer brought him joy. He held the returned wealth on his lap, but it felt like fire in his hands. His mind, once filled with schemes and pride, now flooded with the truth that he could not deny. The virtues my Chacha carries, that Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji carries, they are not ordinary. They are the marks of a true Guru, a saint unlike any other. I tried to take his life, and yet he returned my gifts. He returned everything, even his gifts. He didn't see any crime, he only saw my pain. Dheermal bowed his head. For the first time, he saw clearly, not with his eyes but with his soul. He gave me everything. Everything I snatched from him, he gave me back with compassion. He didn't burn with vengeance, he burned with light. A thought came into his heart like a whisper of wind. This is the way of saints. They are great trees standing tall, rooted in truth, offering shade to even those who throw stones at them. Dheermal could no longer pretend. His ego, so loud before, had been silenced by the thunder of the Gurus. I am not the Guru, he confessed. I cannot be the Guru. I don't have what it takes. I don't have what he has. His calm is deeper than any ocean. His forgiveness is wider than any sky. I've seen goodness, and it lives in Tegh Bahadur, Guru Tegh Bahadur, my Chacha. And in that moment, regret took root in his heart, not just for the bullets that missed, but for the path he had chosen, for the darkness he walked in, where a sun had been shining before the entire time. He cursed his actions, cursed his own hands for lifting weapons against a soul so pure, and quietly, in the lonely corners of his mind, Dheermal bowed. Not out loud, not with others watching, but the bow was real. And for this time it came out of fear. It came while he was trembling in the weight of realization of what he has become. This was a glimpse of the true Guru, and it had shaken him to the very core. The masands saw Dheermal depressed, with his head hung low, and they spoke to him. Why are you humbled? You don't know your own glory. You feel bad about what happened. In fact, your Chacha has recognized your greatness and has figured out that his wealth should belong to you. You are the Guru, the masands spoke. This is not hidden. Nobody can hide it. Dheermal didn't even look up. He didn't even recognize the words. And after some time, he finally spoke. His voice, once proud and commanding, was now low and broken. His eyes looked up, weary, his heart heavy, and he turned to Siha Masand, the most trusted advisor and his greatest downfall. Siha, he said, softly but bitterly, you talk like everything's fine, like I should wear this shame like a crown. But do you know what really happened? Makhan Shah came here with 500 armed men, 500, one signal from my Chacha, one gesture, and we would have all been dead. Don't pretend otherwise. My Chacha Tegh Bahadur saved me, he saved all of us. He stopped it, he spared us. The men around fell silent. He has always been the quiet one. He never caused any harm to anyone. He never raised his voice. Even after all this, all the stuff we did, he chose not to punish me. What hurts me isn't just the fear of the defeat. It's that the family, the house of Guru Nanak, will never be the same again because of what I did. There's a rift now, a fire has been lit, and the smoke will never clear. He stared down at the ground. That bullet, it didn't scratch his forehead, it shattered my honour. My reputation is finished, the Sangat will whisper, the elders will laugh, my own kin will see me as a traitor. Tegh Bahadur Sahib will rise as the Guru, and I will always be remembered for betrayal. His voice darkened. I should never have left Kartarpur. I had everything. The Sangat came with gifts, with love. I was respected, revered. And then he turned to see Hamasanda now, his words sharp. But you pushed me into this. You made me build this dera here. You ignored my warning when I said about the bad omens, the sneeze, the broken pot, the dust in the wind. You laughed it off, and now look. You used your own logic and did what you wanted to. You gave me dishonour and trouble. This is what I get for listening to you. This is my reward. The bad horse pulls hard and goes the wrong way. It bothers the rider and throws him where he can't survive. And this is what you did. You did this bad thing to me. I'm done. I'm not going to stay here any moment longer than I have to. When the sky begins to change, when the day dawns, we leave from here. Dheermal stood up slowly. Pack everything. The dera, the coins, the tents. I don't want a single thread left behind. We're going home. Kartarpur, the only place that I still have my name. The masands said nothing, not a word. Like beaten dogs, they bowed their heads and silently began to pack. The night echoed the sounds of canvases being folded, trunks being shut, boxes being stacked. Nobody slept, nobody spoke. The shame in the air was too thick. And by midnight, the dera of Dheermal, once built to rival the court of the Guru, was reduced to shadows and silence. That night, under the silent sky, Bhai Makhan Shah's warriors also returned to their dera, their boots heavy with dust, but their spirits bore the weight of something deeper. Revenge delivered, justice tempered by mercy. The camp was still, torches flickered low, and the quiet hush of victory, Makhan Shah lay down to rest. The battle was over, the insult answered, the stolen goods returned and then returned again, sent back. But in that peace, a quiet and ease stirred in his heart. He turned to his side, eyes open, and he whispered to himself, "My Guru, what a soul you are." He could still hear Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji's calm voice echoing in his memory, the serene expression unbothered by insult, untouched by greed, unmoved by blood drawn from his own brow. Guruji, thought to himself, you are cooler than the moonlight on a summer night, calmer than the ocean's depth. He remembered how Dheermal's men had fired bullets, how they looted, cursed, plotted murder, yet Guruji had given everything back with a smile. No anger, no vengeance, no harsh words. Makhan Shah Ji shaking his head is made of something else, he thought to himself. A soul that sees no enemies, a mind that doesn't calculate revenge, a heart that only knows compassion. My Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji is truly divine. What kind of saint is this? So vast in wisdom, so rich in humility. He thought about Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji's greatness as he lay down, and his eyelids softened. And like a soldier who had seen heaven, and he had seen heaven at the feet of his Guru, he drifted into sleep, peaceful and proud and forever changed. And sometimes we need to do this. As you lie down in bed tonight, think of this podcast and the words that are spoken. Think of the history of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji. Think of your Guru as you lie down. Stop scrolling on your phones and everything else and think of Guruji as you lay. And your sleep will be different. Your relationship with Guru will be different. But going on, while everyone else in Bakala slept, in Dheermal's camp sleep never came. The masands whispered nervously, pacing like shadows under the moon. Their breaths were short, thoughts restless. And in a low voice, Dheermal broke the silence. Did everything come back? One of the masands stepped forward, said, Yes, Dheermal Babaji, everything, all the wealth, all the offerings, everything, except one thing. Dheermal's eyes narrowed. Guru Granth Sahib Ji, they were never returned. A heavy silence. They've kept them in Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji's home, the masand added. Another voice chimed in. There's nothing like the sacred Granth. It was a priceless treasure that you had. They should be with us. They belong to our elders. The Sangha bowed to them. Everyone bowed to them. They did their darshan and everyone was blessed. That's what gave us our greatness. Without them, who will see you as the Guru? Who will see you as great? Who will come to see you? Those words struck Dheermal. His fists clenched. He rose from his seat, the fire of humiliation burning through his pride. You fools! You stupid idiots! It's because of you that I lost Guru Granth Sahib Ji from my life. They were my power, my legitimacy, my source of glory, and now they sit at the house of those who I tried to kill. His voice grew dark and tired. There's no strength in my hands to take them back. What's lost is lost now. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji has them. We will never get them back. Not after this. We've become rivals. How can I ask for anything? You convinced me to go to war, to fight against my Chacha, and now I am empty. Silence returned, thick with regret. And then one masand spoke. Babaji, if Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji gives them from his own will, with his own compassion, only then will they return. Not by force, not by plea, only through his kindness can they come back. And Dheermal slumped in his throne like a man defeated, and his voice trembled. I'll leave. Before dawn, we're going to go. I can't face Bakala anymore. We're going to go back to Kartarpur. And he looked out into the darkness. I will bow my feet. I will bow my head to the feet of Guru Nanak Dev Ji and all of the Gurus up to Guru Har Rai Sahib Ji. And I will make ardas. I will offer Kara Prasad, and I will beg, not from my Chacha, but from the Guru's grace, that may Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji's heart melt. May he send back the sacred Granth Sahib without being asked. He sighed. I will do this ardas. I will make this beg. This is our only way now. Only the shelter of the Guru can save me. And so, all night long, Dheermal sat silent, heavy, broken, like a stone statue. And as the birds began to sing in the morning, and as the day began to dawn, he said to his men, bring my chariot, load the carts, gather everything. We leave now. No fanfare, no final words, just a heavy command. His masands moved quickly, silently. They loaded the belongings, packed away the wealth. Not with celebration, but with shame. No one spoke, no one dared to. Dheermal climbed onto his chariot, his eyes fixed ahead, and his mind elsewhere, somewhere else entirely. And as the wheels creaked under the weight of him, not just the cargo, but the burden of failure, they rolled out of Bakala. The early morning light spilling over the land, Dheermal sat in silence as they rolled out. The wind touched his face, but it brought no peace. In his heart only one thing circled, like a vulture. I came for glory, and I returned with disgrace. He arrived in Bakala with dreams of sitting on the throne of the Guru, and now, just a shadow, retreating in defeat. Behind him, he left the sacred town, and the one treasure that his heart truly longed for, Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And now he couldn't ask for it, he couldn't fight for it. And now he couldn't forget it. All he could carry was regret. And just like that, before long, Dheermal's camp was gone. Word spread fast. The one who tried to shoot the Guru has fled. The one who looted the home of the true saint couldn't find the courage to stay. The villagers spoke to each other. He feared for his life. He feared retribution. No one needed to chase him out. His own guilt did the job. The man who strutted into Bakala with pride, with claims of guruship, slipped away like a thief in the night. Not with honour, but with the fear chewing through his soul. Makhan Shah heard these rumours rippling through the village. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The truth was clear for all to see. Instead, he did what he always longed to do. Every single day, with folded hands and love in his heart, he went before Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji. And he bowed low at the feet, and he would just sit there. in stillness, in awe, in service. He wasn't looking for praise, he wasn't looking for blessings, he just wanted to be there and to just be at peace there in front of his Guru. And in that moment he was freed from this endless cycle of birth and death, and he found true liberation in the love of his Guru. And day by day his heart softened, day by day his ego melted away, and he listened to Guru Sahib's words, each one steeped in spiritual nectar, Amrit, each one echoing with eternal truth, Sat. A calm began to settle deep inside him. He was at Santok, at inner peace, at contentment. And it's a kind of peace that no gold could buy and no sword could force, a peace that comes only through sitting with the true Guru. Makhan Shah wasn't just doing darshan anymore, he was doing bhakti, and faith began to grow. One morning, Makhan Shah sat in the presence of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, his heart full as always, his mind at peace, but still something stirred inside him. He looked at Guruji, eyes gleaming with devotion, and spoke, Guruji, you are a treasure chest of bliss. In your presence I've tasted peace I've never known to exist, or never knew that even could exist. But there's something I long for now in my heart, and I've wished to visit the sacred city, the land of Amritsar, the place where Guru Ram Das Ji laid the foundation stone and Guru Arjan Dev Ji laid the foundation and made the sarovar and the divine pool of nectar where Gurbani was sung. I wish to bow my head at Darbar Sahib, Sri Harmandir Sahib. I wish to feel the cool touch of the holy Amrit and wash away the dust of my sins. And Guruji with Vaisakhi approaching, feels like perfect time. I beg you, can I have the permission to go? Guruji listened and smiled and said to him, Amritsar is not far from here. It's a place of joy, the fountain of grace, and yes, we shall go together. I too will bathe in the sarovar. I too will bow my head at that place of purity. Prepare for the journey, Makhan Shah. We will leave soon and return quickly. Makhan Shah's heart soared, two blessings in one. Not only would he be able to go to the Amritsar Darbar Sahib, but he would do so side by side with Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, the Guru himself. There was no rush now, there was no reason to return in haste. He would be with Guru every step of the way. A glow came over his face and he thought to himself, what fortune, what grace. The time I get to spend in the presence of my Guru is more valuable than any treasure. This is how I will make my life worthwhile, and this is how we can make our lives worthwhile. Spend time in the presence of your Guru, in the presence of the Shabad. And going forward with that, preparations began. Not just for a journey, but for a journey of the soul, of the Atma. Makhan Shah, radiant with excitement, returned to his camp with fire in his heart, and they began to prepare. Guru was going to walk beside him step by step to the land of Amritsar. And once everything was arranged, he came back to Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji's home and bowed. Guruji, how do you want to travel? Shall I summon a chariot or one of my finest horses? I have mares and steeds, both swift and strong. Whatever you wish I will call for. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, ever serene and detached, replied calmly, it doesn't matter to me. Whichever is ready to go, I'll take that. I have no preference. I will walk the path as it comes. It doesn't matter. With those simple words, Makhan Shah called for one of his finest horses, a mare. Beautiful, white, tall, graceful and powerful. He set her saddle simmered with precious gems, and her reins were tied and got ready. Golden bells chimed gently around her neck. Ornaments in silver danced at her feet. She was a beautiful horse, responsive to the lightest gesture. Patient beneath her ride and swift as the wind, she moved with quiet strength, gliding over the land, covering great distances without seeming to rush. Guruji looked at this great mare and smiled. Without a word, he mounted her, and so the journey began. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, the King of Kings, rode ahead, graceful and composed, and Makhan Shah closely behind, flanked by his royal men and army. The news reached Amritsar. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji is coming. And with that, the city stirred. Some people's hearts leapt with joy, others fear. And the masands in Amritsar also got news of Guru Sahib's decision to visit Darbar Sahib, the great holy site. And in their grand residences, panic set in. Sodhi Harji and Kartarpur Ji, the sons of Baba Meherwan Ji, the self-appointed keepers of Amritsar, felt their blood run cold. These were not men of seva. They were men of gold and silver, their fingers stained with the wealth of the Sangat, not the ink of Gurbani. These were greedy masands. They gathered in secret, their voices low but frantic. He's coming here now, right before Vaisakhi, before the Mela, before the offerings. He'll see everything. He'll see the revenue, the amount of money that comes in, the crowds, the treasure the Sangat brings. And if he stays here, he will take it all. The Sangat will go to him and we will be forgotten about. And Makhan Shah is coming with him. That warrior that doesn't bend to anyone but the truth. Did you hear what he did to Dheermal? Oh my God, he's coming here. The masands looked at each other, fear twisting in their faces. If Makhan Shah didn't spare Dheermal, what do you think he'll do to us? He'll take everything from us. And now it's been revealed to the world, Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji is the true Guru. He has command over the rest of everyone, over all the masands. He'll take Amritsar, he'll take everything, the money, the offerings, the sangat, everything. And us, Sodhi Harji and Kartarpur Ji, the caretakers of Darbar Sahib, what did they do? They chose cowardice. They chose that they would not welcome the Guru. They didn't offer garlands or sing shabads. Instead, they packed quietly and slipped out of Amritsar, scattered into nearby villages to hide, like shadows fleeing the light. They whispered to each other, "He must not enter Darbar Sahib. We will hide, we will disappear, and he will not find us here." And they remembered Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib as a child. He was silent, inwards, distant from worldly affairs. And they mistook his solitude for weakness. And now that same child had ascended to the throne of the Guru Nanak. And the weight and the power of that throne, the Guru Tagadi shook their bones. He never spoke to us, my sons, not once. He didn't even acknowledge us when he was young. What do you think is going to happen now? Then he didn't bow to us or acknowledge us. And now the whole world knows he's Guru. He won't care about us, so they ran. Not a single masand stood at the gates of Amritsar to welcome Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji. The true Guru had come, and the caretakers of the holy city of Darbar Sahib, those who called themselves stewards or sevadar of the Guru's legacy, they locked their hearts and their doors. And in their minds, the masands whispered and lies to themselves. He has come for the money. He has come to claim what we built. He'll strip it from us. He'll take it all under his name. This is wrong. They were so afraid. These masands, they knew they were imposters, that nothing was theirs. Everything belonged to the Guru. Tegh Bahadur is the son of Guru Hargobind, they murmured. He holds the right to command all of the masands. If we meet him, we won't be able to argue. We will have to obey everything. He'll take everything from us, and we won't be able to speak a word in front of him. So in arrogance and fear, they chose blasphemy. They closed and shut the doors of Sri Harmandir Sahib, all of them. The sacred darshan deori, the grand gateway which saints had walked, where the Sangat gathered in joy, they slammed it shut and fastened thick, heavy locks on it. The clang of those locks echoed like the closing of their fate. And inside, silence. No kirtan, no part, no sangat, no light of the Guru's Shabad. The throne of the eternal shrouded in darkness, because the caretakers, the masands, had become bearmuk, turned away from the light. They no longer followed the traditions of the house of Guru Nanak. They traded Simran for silver, seva for status, and faith for fear. But Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, they see past and future like the present. They already knew all of this, and they rode silently into the city. They looked upon Harmandir Sahib locked, abandoned, sealed by men too small to hold such a great responsibility, and Guruji said nothing. But the stillness of that moment said everything. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji stood at the threshold of the city. Their gaze settled on the closed doors of Harmandir Sahib. No kirtan echoed through the air, no rabab hummed, no saranda sang, no mridang beat in rhythm to the divine Shabad. It was just silence. Heavy, deafening silence. Guru Sahib turned to Bhai Makhan Shah and said, Makhan Shah, do you see this? The masands, blinded by greed, have turned away from the light. They hide in corners, whispering amongst themselves like thieves in the night. They have not come to welcome their Guru. They've shut the doors of the Guru's own home. Where once the Shabad sang out and the Sangat swayed in bliss, now there is nothing. No Kirtan, no Bart, no offering, only locks. This, my Sikh, is what greed does. Makhan Shah's fist clenched. He stepped forward, fire rising in his chest. Satguruji, he said, just give me the word. Let me go to them. Let me do to these false ones what I would do to Dheermal if he tried it. These people, these masands, have become traitors of the house of the Guru. They steal your money, the Guru's money, the Sangat's offerings, and now they've barred you and they've locked the doors of our own Guru Ghar, built by your own family, Guru Arjan Dev Ji's hands, and still they call themselves caretakers. His eyes blazed. They offered no ardas, brought no gifts, showed no humility. They didn't even step outside to see your face. I can't watch to see these insults unfold again and again. Let me call them out. Let me show them what it means to face the Guru's Sikh. You, Satguru, are patient with forgiveness, but I will be your sword. I can't let this go unpunished. Makhan Shah stood tall, chest heaving, awaiting the Guru's command. But yet, the Guru remained still, his peace unshaken. The sun above them hung in silence. This was not just a clash of men, this was a test of virtue, of dharam, of what it truly meant to carry the Guru's name. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji looked upon the closed doors of Harmandir Sahib, not with anger, but with deep calm and knowing, and he turned to Makhan Shah, whose heart was burning, and said, Makhan Shah, there is no need to strike. When the time comes, these corrupt souls will face what they've earned. Every masand will be called to account. Their deeds will be weighed, not in silver or gold, but in truth. The Guru's eyes looked beyond the present and looked into the future. And they looked into the past. And Guru Sahib spoke. In the days of Guru Arjan Dev Ji, the curse was already spoken. The masands had began their downfall then. Out of greed, they used cheap materials to build this sacred sarovar. Guru Arjan Sahib Ji again and again told them, don't look at the cost, honour the purpose. But they wouldn't listen. And so Guru Arjan Dev Ji gave them their fate. Your roots will not remain. They will be pulled out by the hands of destiny. Guruji's voice remained soft, yet each word struck like thunder. They are already dead, Makhan Shah. Spiritually they are dust. How can one slay what has already withered? They have no devotion, no contentment, no hope, and I cannot bring any harm to any soul. Whatever one sows, so shall they reap. This is the law of Garam. Makhan Shah stood silent. Guruji smiled. Come, Makhan Shah, forget about them. They will suffer what is coming to them. Let us bathe in the sacred waters. Let the sarovar cleanse your body, your mind, your soul. In this Amrit, sins are washed and burdens dissolved. And then let us prepare Grab Prasad and offer ardas to Guru Ram Das Ji right here outside these closed doors. He will hear it. He will answer. The Satguru always completes the true wishes of every heart. And with those divine words, Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji turned and began to walk. He's walked with grace and stillness around the edge of the sarovar. And there, beneath the shade of the sacred berry tree in Darbar Sahib, they sat down. In sorrow or joy, rejection or honour, the true Guru remains the same, calm, compassionate and unshaken. Because who can shake the Guru? Nobody. They did not enter Darbar Sahib, but they blessed the ground around it and left. After having ishnaan. Bhai Makhan Shah, on the other hand, he stayed behind. He wanted to stay at Amritsar for a bit longer. And so, word soon reached the masands. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji had come and left. He stood by the sacred Amrit Sarovar. He had witnessed everything. Then, without raising his voice, without asking for a single coin, without knocking even once on the locked doors, the divine Guru just turned and quietly rode away. The masands sighed in relief. They emerged from their hiding places like insects after a storm, crawling back to the gates of Hargobind Sahib, and we rehearsed fake smiles that began to open the doors and receive offerings again by the Sikh Sangat who brought them. Gold, rupees, fine cloth and gifts, the wealth began to flow over time, and so did their greed. This is what they did. The night passed, and in the early hours of the morning, Bhai Makhan Shah stepped into the sacred waters of the sarovar. The chill of dawn brushing against his skin, he bowed his head and let the Amrit water wash over him. This was his first time there, so he wanted to stay a bit longer. He was blessed to be at Hargobind Sahib, and with deep faith in his heart, he emerged from the water, dressed himself in fresh clothes and carefully prepared Darbar Sahib, his hands moving with devotion, his heart humming with reverence. And then he stepped towards Darbar Sahib and bowed low again and again, not to stone or to gold, but to the presence of Guru Ramdas Ji that still lingered in every single corner. He placed the Darbar Sahib in the Darbar, which was now open and unlocked as the masands came back, and Makhan Shah did ardas, and the shadows crept close. The masands, the caretakers, the stewards who were once meant to serve, came slinking forward, not in reverence but in guilt. They had heard. They knew that who stood at the doorstep and turned away. They knew Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji had left. And now they came face to face with Bhai Makhan Shah. And he didn't rise in rage, he didn't shout, but his words, sharp, steady, and soaked in truth, fell like thunder on their hearts. "You've done a terrible thing," he said. "The Master of Mercy, the Provider of all, came here to bless you and you hid. You didn't offer a greeting, you didn't bow, not even your presence. You turned your back on the light of the eternal Guru themselves." The masands stood silent. "Guruji said nothing to you. He is the epitome of forgiveness itself." "But he commanded me," Makhan Shah's eyes blazed. "If he had commanded me, if he had even sighed in disappointment, I would have brought justice with my own hands. You have no idea how narrowly you escaped. You didn't just insult your Guru, you cursed your own children, your Gurams, and it will be passed down. You brought sorrow to your own lives and lineages. Joy and pain lie at the Satguru's tongue. One glance could have changed your lives. Instead, you shut your doors, turned your backs, and slammed the locks." He took a breath and paused. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji kept peace. "But know this, his silence is not a weakness, it's wisdom, and you turned your backs." The masands couldn't speak. They stood frozen, pale and silent. But fear, like a crack spreading through a stone, finally broke their silence. One stepped forwards, his voice trembling. "Makhan Shah, listen. Let us explain. We didn't act out of disrespect, we know how it looks, but this sacred place lives because of the light of the Satguru, and we are witnesses to the might of the Satguru. We remember Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, how he crushed the Turk and the invaders, the Mughals, and how his glory burned so bright that his enemies smothered in jealousy. Since then we live in fear of those enemies. When Guru Har Sahib Ji received the Gurta Gaddi, he didn't sail in Amritsar for that very reason. He stayed away so the Turk and the Mughals wouldn't come and defile this great site. If he had come here, they might have turned this place to ash and burnt it down." Another masand spoke up nervously. Yeah, that's right. And this confusion about the Gurta Gaddi, we didn't know who the true Guru was, and the Sangats divided, so that's why we didn't open the doors." Their excuses dripped like cold rain, their justifications veiled in half-made-up truths. But Makhan Shah stood firm, unmoved. He looked at them with the fire of righteousness in his eyes. "You speak of confusion. Let me remind you, the 8th Guru, Sri Guru Harkrishna Sahib Ji themselves declared Baba in Bakala is the Guru, and I found them. And this was declared, it became known to all. Don't speak to me about confusion, don't make up lies. The veil of falsehood has been lifted, and truth is revealed. The sun has risen, there is no more night." He recounted every detail, how he searched, how he tested his false claimant, and how he revealed the lotus-like Guru in the muddy ocean of the fakes, the quiet, the radiant spirit who asked for nothing, but who was everything. And then he spoke, and when he did, the masands shrank. The excuses began to crumble, their pride wilted like flowers in a drought. Makhan Shah saw it, the flicker of guilt, the weight of shame, the fear of consequence, and yet even now his voice softened. There's still time. Go to the Guru, don't delay. Let go of your cleverness and your corruption and your ego. Let go of your pride. What's done is done, but you can still bow your heads. You can be forgiven. The masands whispered amongst themselves, their minds spinning. They remembered Dheermal, they remembered what became of those who crossed Makhan Shah and the true Guru, and they looked at each other and kind of nodded. We cannot afford to make him an enemy. We've seen what happens to those who oppose the light. So they gathered the courage they had, they prepared prasad, packed offerings, dressed humbly, and they set off to see the Guru, their eyes lowered, their hearts thudding and their egos trembling. They set off to see the one that they turned their backs on, hoping that mercy still waited for them at the feet of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji. And after leaving Amritsar Sahib the days before, Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji travelled north around 12 kilometres to a village called Vulla. There, devoted Sikh welcomed Guru Sahib Ji into their home, and in the final hours of the night when they arrived there, the world would be sleeping. Guru Sahib Ji arose, bathed in cold water, and sat on a simple bed turning inwards. They began their nitnem, singing shabads echoing throughout that town and the room. And later on that same day, the masands arrived, and they came not out of love but out of fear, and their heads bowed not out of reverence but out of fear. They folded their hands because of fear. They bent low with fake humility. They laid their fake gifts before the Guru, trying to cover their deceit, and they spoke with trembling words, and they lied. Guruji, we beg for forgiveness. We didn't mean any disrespect. We live in Amritsar and we live in fear. The Turk, the Mughals, they watch us. Anytime the descendants of Bende Khan can come and they can attack. We haven't forgotten. They haven't forgotten. They still thirst for revenge. They search for reasons to attack us. And if they hear the Guru has returned to Amritsar, they will bring destruction. That's why we stayed away. Not because of your throne. This is your land, Guruji. We are yours. Take whatever you wish. What a facade, man. But Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, the all-knowing, the one whose gaze looks into hearts, remains still. They saw through their words like glass. They saw their minds greedy and starving, like dogs clawing for bones. They were not caretakers of Amritsar. They were looters wearing the robes of sevadars. And in silence, the Guru's heart stirred. And Guruji thought, they have robbed the Sangat for far too long. They've twisted the Dharam to serve their egos. They live in the Guru's home, yet they act like enemies. But their end is near. The one who will uproot their corruption, the Lion amongst men, is coming. The Khalsa is coming. And then aloud, the power of truth in every syllable, Satguruji spoke. Masands, you are not Amritsariya, the ones blessed with the pool of immortality. You are Antarsariya, the ones burning from within, and you will burn within inside. The fire of greed is consuming your souls. You walk the wrong path. You have stolen from the Guru's house and claimed it as your own. You will be punished. Mark my words. You will burn. And with that, the voice of the Guru fell silent. No anger in his tone, only truth. The masands stood in silence, no defense, no excuses, just shame burning hotter than any curse, and they left quietly. But the curse, Antarsariya, would follow them, and it would not fade. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji stayed in this village for just a little while longer, and they awaited patiently their beloved Sikh, Makhan Shah Lubhana, who wished to stay at Darbar Sahib for a day or so. And there was no rush in his heart, no burden of time, because Guruji isn't bound by the restlessness of the world or the pressure of time or anything like that. Bhai Makhan Shah spent some time at Darbar Sahib, then left. And before you know it, they arrived at the village where Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji was. They set up camp and quickly came to see Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, bowing low and deep with reverence, and they shared what had transpired in Amritsar. Guruji, these masands, They're drunk on money. Their hearts have turned from you. I can't believe how they locked the doors of Sri Darbar Sahib and how they refused your darshan. They couldn't even recognize the light of the Satguru standing before them in their city. And I warned them. I told them who you are, what you are, the true Guru. I reminded them whose home they were standing in. Eventually they came to their senses, or they pretended to. But they're still running the Guru's house for their own wealth. Can't believe people would do such a thing. They think like thieves, and if they are not stopped, their egos will grow out of control. I didn't punish them only out of fear of what your command was, but I wanted to. And then Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, calm, composed, beyond praise, beyond pain, listened and then spoke. Makhan Shah, don't worry. They will be punished. Not now, but soon. A great being shall rise, one who will uproot them, who will scorch their corruption. He will shake their heavens and sweep them away. He will sweep away this filth. Some may survive, most will not, but that time is coming. No Sikh will bow to these masands again. Their time is forever fading. The prophecy lingered in the air, and that prophecy goes on to be fulfilled by Guru Gobind Singh Ji as he deals with these masands. And with those few words, the conversation ended by Makhan Shah Ji bowed and he returned to his camp, and the village of Vulla fell into a deep silence, and the night passed in peace. At Amrit Vela, Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji rose again, partaking in their Amrit Vela ishnaan in cold water and doing their nitnem, and then they set off back towards Bakala. And as Guru Sahib and their Sikh reached Bakala, they entered their home again. And at this moment, Mata Nanaki Ji saw her son, and her heart overflowed. Her eyes filled with love, and she touched his face, and she placed her hand over his. The love in her heart only deepened for her son. And now in Bakala, over time, divans began to be held. From distant villages, the crowds gathered. As people came from different cities, Sikh began to stir, and word reached every ear, and hearts leapt at the news. One by one, families packed their belongings, men, women and children, with gifts in their hands and love in their hearts, made their way to Bakala to sit in the divans and have darshan. They came by foot, by cart, by horse, all for one purpose, and that was darshan. Darshan of the Satguru, Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, to see the true face. And when Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji held divans, the sight was breathtaking. Thousands sat and thousands more stood with awe and reverence. With folded hands they bowed one after another. They stepped forwards, placed offerings before their Guru, before the throne of Guru Nanak, money, gifts, devotion, everything they could give. And they listened. They listened to the divine bachans of the Guru, and they had darshan and they did sangat. It was just amazing. And as each day passed, the streams of sangat grew. The name and glory of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji spread far and wide. Faith bloomed in every heart. Devotion poured in from all directions. Guru Sahib Ji blessed many. He taught them about Sikhi, about the Guru, about Naam, about Parameshwar, about Vaheguru, about Seva. He answered their questions. Everyone was rejoicing. Almost everyone. The cousins of the Guru, the Sodis, also heard the news, but instead of rejoicing at the light of the Guru being recognized, their hearts burned. Jealousy turned their blood hot. Their tongues dripped with bitterness. They spoke harshly behind closed doors, eyes clouded by ego, unable to see the divine radiance before them. Makhan Shah Lubhana, the Sikh and the revealer of truth, had remained in Bakala now for many days. His heart had found peace. His soul had found its resting place. The longing that pulled him across land and sea had fulfilled its promise. And one evening, he came to Guruji and he sat before them. His eyes filled with gratitude and a sadness of parting. He bowed low and said, Guruji, I came from afar, from the shores of distant lands, driven by a yearning to see you, to have your darshan. You've blessed me beyond measure. I can never repay you. My doubts are gone. My heart is at peace. But it's been so long I've not been home. I ask for your agya, your permission to return home now, carrying your name in my heart. Guruji listened. And in that same calm and weightlessness tone, Guruji replied, Makhan Shah, I too am preparing to leave. I will not stay here much longer. I will cross the Satluj and I will find a new home beyond this place. The Sodis, they live here and they burn with jealousy. Every day they see me, and this adds more fuel to their burning fire of hatred, and I don't wish to remain here, where there is conflict and jealousy. The Guru Tegh Bahadur has come into full life. Truth has been revealed. My work here is also done. I will also leave this place. This isn't where the next chapter of this path will be written. And that night, Satguru Ji began the preparations to leave. He spoke to his beloved mother, Mata Nanaki Ji, and told her, "It's time. Let us live somewhere else now. This place has seen too much resentment. Let peace become our home." And with that, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji laid to rest. But in silence of the night, a great journey had already begun. That next day they packed and prepared to leave. Outside, horses stood ready, saddled and decorated beautifully. Makhan Shah had seen to every detail. He ordered his men, ensure Guruji's belongings are carefully loaded onto the carts and the horses be swift and gentle. Mata Nanaki Ji must not lift a finger, nor must the wife of the Guru. And once ready, before mounting their horses to leave, Guruji closed his eyes. For a moment, silence, and offered an ardas to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, seeking blessings on the journey ahead. With effortless grace, they mounted their horse and set off. Makhan Shah swiftly mounted his own horse and positioned himself respectfully just behind Guru Sahib. His warriors, well armed and vigilant, fell into formation, their horses gently stirring dust beneath their hooves. Their entourage began to move slowly, gracefully departing Bakala, the place that had once witnessed the revelation of the ninth Guru to the world. Villagers came out of their homes to bid farewell to Guruji, their eyes filled with respect, reverence and tears. They cried and bowed their heads to the ground as Guruji rolled forwards. And Guruji glanced at all the faces around, blessing each one silently. Behind Guruji, the carts and luggage followed slowly, catching up with them in the vanguard. Mata Nanaki Ji and Mata Gujari Ji also left, both trusting in the wisdom of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji for the path before them. Together they moved forwards to a new beginning, guided by destiny, following the timeless legacy of Guru Nanak Dev Ji into this next chapter of the journey. The great caravan, the Vahir, stretched across the dusty path, moving slowly and steadily behind the great Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji. Mata Gujari Ji, graceful and composed, rode with quiet strength. By her side, her brother, Baba Kripal Chand, mounted on his horse, and he joined the journey with devotion in his heart. Behind them, carts rumbled with the weight of years, household belongings, gifts, sacred items, all packed carefully for the road ahead. And it wasn't just the family moving, it was Sangat. Many Sangat moved as well. Wherever Guruji would go, they would stay with Guruji. They don't need anything else. This is everything. A living river of love and loyalty followed behind the ninth Guru. Sikh men, women, children, servants, warriors, followers, all had chosen to walk with the Satguru and leave everything else behind, leaving their fields and everything else. Some travelled ahead to scout the road, others followed closely behind. The path was long, but the hearts were heavy, not from fatigue, but from sorrow. The people of Bakala whispered amongst themselves, pain in their voices. The Guru Tegh Bahadur has been revealed, the light has returned to the world, but the Sodis, jealous and drunk on ego, cannot tolerate the Guru's glory even now. Their envy has created darkness where there should have been celebration, and now the true king leaves this place, not because he's weak, but because he chooses peace over pride. He leaves hatred behind and walks forward with love. No one knew where they were going and where they were going to settle. No one knew where the next sacred city would be born, but they followed with faith. And after a while, the Vahir reached the river, the great river Beas. Its river waters glistened in the morning sun, and the Sangat came to halt at its banks. And there were no ferries or ships or boats in sight at the shore. So Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji stood at the water's edge, calm and silent, his eyes gazing across the gentle current. He waited. As he stood, the rest of the Vahid slowly started to catch up, their voices soft, their steps slow with reverence. From the warriors of Bhai Makhan Shah's force to the humble villagers walking barefoot behind the carts, they all paused and saw Guruji waiting. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji stood at the riverbank, softly gazing at the Beas river. Still as stone, calm as the morning breeze, he waited, not for ferries, but for every soul in the Vihir to arrive, so nobody was left behind. Behind him, carts rolled in, hooves echoed on the dry earth, possessions were few. Most had been left with Dheermal's grasp. But something greater was forming, a quiet gravity, a sacred presence. As the sun moved higher in the sky, more and more souls gathered around where Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji was. Not just Sikh from nearby villages, but Sikhs from across paths and traditions, sadhus with dreadlocks, fakirs with dust-covered feet, udasis draped in robes of renunciation, saint wanderers, scholars, spiritual wanderers. One by one they came, drawn not by promise of wealth or shelter, but by the magnetic pull of divine serenity. And by now, the Vihir wasn't just a moving, travelling camp. It was a spiritual tidal wave, swelling with devotion. 700 Sikhs stood at the edge of the river beside Guruji, not as just different traditions, but as one family of faith. They didn't need to be convinced about anything because they saw it. They saw the divine truth in the Guru, and now they would stay with Guruji forever. They didn't want to leave Guruji. If Guruji travelled, they wanted to go with them. And then, through the murmurs of the gathering, a sudden silence spread. Heads turned. All eyes were drawn to a small group approaching behind slowly. At their centre, one Sikh walked in quiet strength. Upon his head, rested with dignity and devotion, was none other than Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. A wave of reverence surged through the Sangat. The air thickened with spiritual weight. Without a word, Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji stepped forward, and with him the entire congregation. They bowed low, foreheads touched the dust. The true Guru bowed before the eternal Guru. Rising slowly, Guru Sahib turned and asked about the Saroop of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Whose care are they in? Where are they being taken? And who decided this? Baba Kripal Chand, Mata Gujri's elder brother, stepped forward, folded his hands in respect and spoke. Guru Sahib, they are the very Guru Granth Sahib Ji, your elder, Sri Guru Arjan Dev Ji personally compiled with their own divine hands. They were taken deceitfully by Dheermal and kept with him, but when his camp was overtaken, Guru Granth Sahib Ji was retrieved. They are unmatched. Where their puja is done, the place itself becomes sacred. Wherever they reside, the Sangat will gather, offerings are made, darshan is done, and now they sit on the Gurta Gaddi, and now you sit on the Gurta Gaddi. It's only fitting that the Granth Sahib remains with you by your side. But Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, the ocean of humility, responded with concern in their voice. But why should they stay with me? Who brought them here? I commanded that everything be returned to Dheermal. Why was the Guru Granth Sahib Ji left out? They've been with him for years. Even though he wronged us, is it right to keep something so sacred from him? His heart will break further because of this. And Guruji spoke, calmly but firmly. Return Guru Granth Sahib Ji to Kartarpur. They are not to stay with me. This Saroop belongs to Dheermal. Take them back to him. The Sangat was stunned. They folded their hands and pleaded, Maharaj, Dheermal is no saint. He's filled with corruption. He's a slanderer, a sinner. He fired bullets at you. We do not wish to lay eyes on him. We don't want to see him. Let alone take the sacred treasure to his hands. Guruji stood in silence. Inside, a deeper vision stirred. One only Guruji could see. Mata Nanaki Ji, seated nearby in a chariot, could no longer hold back. Her eyes flared with a quiet fire. My son, she said, her voice raising with strength of a mother. Why are you being so stubborn? These words, this sacred Bani, were written by your own grandfather, Guru Arjan Dev Ji. They are your ancestral right, our eternal treasure. They won't be found again if they are lost, if they are given to Dheermal. How can you even think of giving them back to the man who tried to end your life? Yes, he's your nephew, but he's shown no love, no loyalty, no truth. He should be punished, not gifted. But Guru Sahib Ji said nothing in return. The silence said enough. The Sangha could see that something deeper stirred in his heart, a plan far beyond ordinary comprehension, and then the boats arrived. The sacred caravan boarded, the Vahir boarded the ferries, and they set off across the wide waters of the Beas river. Chariots, horses all swayed gently on the river's rhythm in those boats, and in the centre, Guru Granth Sahib Ji rested aboard those boats. Once on the far shore, the caravan disembarked. The river sparkled in the sacred stillness. A lone Sikh approached Guru Sahib Ji, seeking permission, saying, "I will continue on to Kartarpur." Guru Sahib Ji looked at him and said, "Take this message. Tell Dheermal I will place the Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj Saroop into the river, and if he wants them, to come and retrieve them from the river. They are not for me, they are for the Panth. They are yours to preserve, but only by the will of the Almighty." And with that, Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji picked up Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, resting atop of the Manji Sahib. Before the entire Sangat, shocked, silent and breathless, Guru Sahib Ji walked into the water. He raised his voice, "O sacred river, protector of truth, take care of the eternal treasure. Carry Guru Granth Sahib Ji safely. The Dheermal shall come and take them. They belong to the future of the Panth." And then Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji released the eternal Guru Granth Sahib Ji, the Ard Guru Granth Sahib, into the water. The Sangat grasped. Some cried out, some whispered prayers, some were frozen in awe, but all were stunned. Whispers arose from the crowd. What just happened? Why would he do this? What will happen to Guru Granth Sahib Ji? They'll drown, dissolve. They were handwritten by Guru Arjan Dev Ji themselves. What will happen now? But the Guru walked on calm, certain and silent. Bhai Makhan Shah Ji watched, heart heavy, mind racing, but he didn't speak. He knew that the Guru knows. He understood, I'm just a servant in the storm of his wisdom. And this is a powerful lesson to us all. Sometimes I think we know what's more and we know everything, but we know nothing. Guruji knows everything. And trust in Guruji's Shabad. Mata Nanaki sat quietly in a chariot holding back tears. And so it was. The Ard Guru Granth Sahib Ji, compiled by Guru Arjan Dev Ji, scribed by Bhai Gurdas Ji, was entrusted to the river, later to be recovered and preserved in Kartarpur by Dheermal's family. And they remain there to this day, protected and respected. But on that day, in Beas, this was no ordinary act. It was prophecy, it was vision, it was sacrifice, and it was the Guru's blessing. The Guru who gives even to those who tried to take everything from him. And so, the message of the Guru rippled across the land, carried by a lone Sikh to the gates of Kartarpur. Dust clung to his feet, sweat lined his brow, but in his eyes wonder, confusion, and a trace of fear. He'd been sent, and he'd seen it with his own eyes. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji had placed Ard Guru Granth Sahib Ji into the river, not out of anger, not out of vengeance, but with calm, with grace, with resolve, and with a whisper of divine purpose. And now he stood before Dheermal, and he delivered this message. I saw it myself. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, the patient one, the true Guru, stood by the river and he asked the Sikh to take Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Ard Guru Granth Sahib Ji, to Kartarpur to you, but no one stepped forward. So he lifted the sacred Bani themselves and he placed it in the water with his own hands into the river Beas. And Guruji told me to tell you, go to the river and retrieve the Saroop of Ard Guru Granth Sahib. They are yours. They belong to you. Dheermal sat still. His eyes flickered with life. He gave them back. Hope surged through his chest. His mouth opened, but no words come out at first. He looked around at the masands, then a pause. Wait. A shadow crept into his voice. The Gurbani's written on paper. If they've been in the river, what's left of them now? Will they even survive? And right then, see how Masand struck. His words slick with poison, like always. Why are you happy? Tegh Bahadur Sahib is mocking you. Can't you see? He sent you a message to humiliate you. He knew the river would destroy the Saroop. and now he'll laugh while you wade through the river like a fool, trying to retrieve the Ard Guru Granth Sahib. Whispers, doubt, division, the masands circled him, feeding him with fear. You'll be embarrassed, Beasty. The pages are gone, your honour gone. Don't be weak, Dheermal, he's outsmarted you. But Dheermal couldn't forget. He remembered the calm face of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, the stillness, the silence, the way he returned everything, even what wasn't stolen. He remembered how, after being attacked, how his Chacha Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji still showed him kindness. He doesn't lie, Dheermal whispered. He has never lied. He has never even mocked anybody, not even once. He gave me everything back. Why wouldn't he give me the Saroop of Ard Guru Granth Sahib? He stood firm now. Get ready, he commanded. We're going to the river, we'll search. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib is a true soul, a great soul. His words are true now and they will always be true. Even if I have to search every corner of that water, I will, because I know I'll find Ard Guru Granth Sahib there. The masands panicked. Siha again spoke. You'll look like a madman, the river's too strong, the pages are gone. What's the point? But not today. Today the light of the Guru's praise outshone the shadow of Siha's slander. No, Dheermal said. This time I go. This time I'll listen to the Guru. I'll listen to my Chacha. With that he ordered his men to prepare. Not out of pride, not out of power, but with hope. For the first time in his life, Dheermal trusted the Guru. And so he set out. And then the next day, as they set out, Dheermal summoned boaters, divers, skilled men of the river. Come, he said, come and help me receive the Guru Granth Sahib from the Beas, from the river, and you will be rewarded in gold, in silk, in anything you ask for if you succeed. The best swimmers came, men who could hold their breath longer than anybody else in the area, divers who knew the soul of the river. Nets were prepared, carts loaded, and the procession set out. Horsemen, servants, swimmers, skeptics and believers, all moving forwards to the sacred shores of the river Beas. Siha Masand, the bitter yet bound, had no choice but to follow along, and with him came the man who carried the Guru's message, now their guide, and they went to the river. By midday they arrived at the river's edge. Tents were pitched, boats prepared, divers tied on their gear, said quiet prayers and waded in. Search everywhere, Dheermal commanded, his voice alive with urgency. The river must return what Guruji placed within it. And so began the search. Nets sliced the current, hands combed through the mud and the weeds. Some men swam like fish, diving deep with desperate faith. Others shouted instructions from boats. Some clasped their hands together and whispered, "Oh Guru Nanak Dev Ji, we can't believe this is happening. Let me be the one to find it. Let me be the one to be gifted." They searched the shallow areas, then the deeper areas and the bends. Time passed, sweat ran down their brows. The water was clear, but the treasure it held was still hidden. Dheermal stood on the shore, on the side, his eyes blinking, and he looked. His voice rang out again and again. Don't give up, the Sadguru's word is never false. He would not lie. We will find the Saroop. He promised more gold, more silk, more blessings. He vowed to make langar and grab prasad, everything. Faith burned in his chest. Behind him some murmured doubts. Others kept silent, watching the river's face for signs. And the search continued. Men diving, nets sweeping, prayers rising like incense into the heavens, all for the single hope that somewhere beneath the sacred waters, the words of the Guru still waited to be found. And in this way, 2 days passed, but no one could find Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. The divers returned empty hands. Again and again, the nets pulled nothing in but river water and stone and the occasional fish. A quiet despair began to hold. Then one of the men turned to the messenger who had seen it all. Tell us truly, did you see the holy Granth Sahib go into the water with your own eyes? Where exactly did Guruji place them? And how could they have floated away? Or did they sink deeper? What happened? They're probably covered in and buried in slit. The messenger stood firm. His voice, though tired, carried conviction. I saw it, he said. With my own eyes, I saw A Sikh carried Guru Granth Sahib Ji on his head, and I watched as he stepped gently into the water, and as Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji themselves did ardas, folded their hands and immersed the Saroop into the river. I saw it. I'm certain of what I saw. Perhaps they could be buried in the riverbed, but they are here, and if you search you will find them. Dheermal's voice cracked. We have searched, we've toiled day and night. Tell us, what else must we do? The messenger stepped forward, his words now slow and deliberate. Dheermal, if you truly wish to find the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, then let go of your ego. Cleanse not your hands but your heart. Surrender your pride. Call upon the Gurus, not just with your lips but with your soul. Pray to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, to Guru Arjan Dev Ji who compiled them, and pray to Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji. Surrender fully. When it is no longer your task but theirs, they will not let their honour fade. They will bring Guru Granth Sahib Ji back to you. There was silence. Then Dheermal nodded. He washed his hands, he removed his footwear, and he trembled as he bowed and did ardas on the river's edge, his voice low but full of devotion as he recited the names of the 9 Gurus 5 times over, and his eyes welled with tears. This is your work, he whispered. Please complete it, restore what is sacred. This is your gift to the world. And he made a vow. If Guru Granth Sahib Ji is found, I will distribute Gra Prasad worth 5,000 rupees. I will feed the Sangat for days. The river heard this ardas. The divers stood still. The crowd went quiet. All eyes were on Dheermal. They all listened. And Dheermal, no longer arrogant, but a humble soul in search of grace, continued his ardas. Hands pressed together, and he bowed his forehead to the ground, calling to the light of the Guru. That Guru Granth Sahib Ji themselves revealed themselves. You are the source of all blessings, Guruji. You fulfill every wish. Come to me. Please, I beg you. It was your will to be sent. Now make it happen. That moment hung thick in the air. The Dheermal opened his eyes, turned, and he tapped on the shoulder of a diver nearby and said, Go. Look once more. Look again. And the diver dove deep into the river. Silence. Then a splash and a pause. Then I found it. He shouted, erupted from the river. I found the Guru Granth Sahib. I found the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. They're here, covered in sand, but here. The leg of the Manji Sahib, it's here. I can feel it. A roar of joy burst from the crowd. More divers jumped in, hands clawed through the riverbed. Mud flew, water churned. And finally the 4 legs of the wooden Manji Sahib were gripped. The platform lifted slowly out of the water, and water cascading off it. And there, seated as if untouched by time, was Guru Granth Sahib Ji, dripping, glowing, divine. The peoples on the shore, on the sides, wept and cried. They bowed, they fell to their knees in reverence. Dheermal, overwhelmed, staggered forward. He pressed his forehead to the sand and then wiped gently the dirt and water from the Ramale, from the Manji Sahib with his own hands. This was no mere recovery, this was a gift. A moment where the impossible bowed to faith. And the river, in its all vastness, had kept the word of the Guru. They looked after the Saroop of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and they were brought ashore. Water dripping from the throne, the Ramale looked soaked, but the Manji glistened in the sunlight. All eyes were on the Manji Sahib and the Saroop. Slowly, and with great respect, Dheermal stepped forward. With trembling hands, he began to unwrap the 5 Ramale. 2 were silk, red and regal, and 3 were made of cotton. His hands shook as he removed each layer, and then there it was. The binding was damp, the Ramale was soaked wet, but then the true miracle. As he opened the Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj's Saroop, ang by ang, he looked, and the entire crowd gasps. The script of Gurbani untouched, looking brand new. The ink had not run, the paper was dry. Not a single word had blurred, as if the water had parted, as if the river itself had dared not touch the Shabad, the words of the Guru. For 13 days, the Saroop of Guru Granth Sahib Ji lay beneath the water. Not a single verse was harmed. The Sangat was speechless. Awe rippled across the faces of the swimmers, the servants, even Siha Masand, who fell silent for once. The men who doubted were now bowing. The doubters were humbled. Sadhguruji protected them, someone cried out. It was his own hand that shielded the Saroop of Gurbani. Suddenly the air exploded in celebration. Sanks were blown, drums thundered, shabads were sung. Flowers rained from fists held high. Jor Sahibs waved in various directions over Guru Sahib. Garland after garland of flowers were placed on Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and they were lifted once more with deep reverence and taken back to Kartarpur. Guru Granth Sahib Ji had returned. Not just recovered, but returned perfectly whole, untouched by water, blessed beyond belief. And as they entered Kartarpur, the whole city erupted. People flooded the streets to welcome the procession. The news only spread. 13 days underwater, and not a single word was smudged or lost. Dive oil lamps were lit across rooftops. Homes glowed through the night. It was not return, it was a divine revelation. The next morning, the town awoke early. Everyone bathed and Grab Prasad was prepared in immense quantities as promised. Dheermal kept his vow. He distributed gifts, money, gold, jewelry to every helper. No one left empty-handed. And the celebrations grew day by day. And every day since that day, that very Saroop of Guru Granth Sahib Ji has been worshipped. The Sodhi family, descendants of Dheermal, had kept it safely. Even through turbulent times, invasions, upheaval, loss, the Guru Granth Sahib Ji Saroop, the Adi Guru Granth Sahib Ji, remained protected. And then a lot of the family later on rejoined the Panth and asked for forgiveness. And to this day, the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, once immersed in the river Beas for 13 days, now stays enshrined at Kartarpur, remains a beacon of this miraculous moment, a symbol of faith, of divine protection, of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji's vision, and of eternal power of the Guru's Shabad and the Guru's word. And we're going to finish this podcast here today, at the moment of this divine miracle, where Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji returned the Saroop of the Guru Granth Sahib Ji Dheermal, placing the Guru Granth Sahib Ji in water, and the river carried them forward for 13 days underwater. That's where we're going to finish. I want to finish with a benti, a plea, a request. And it's not for likes, it's not for you to subscribe. The plea is this: go and have darshan of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, bow before our eternal Guru, Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and build faith in Guruji. Just think about the Shabad when you matha tek. Think about this Sakya once the Saroop of Gurbani was placed underwater, and how the river carried them forward, and think how lucky we are to have such an amazing, perfect Guru. Guru Sahib kirpa kare, bol chuk maaf karna. Dhan Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, Dhan Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.